Welcome to the Health Revolution, the program that shows you how to have a life of vibrant well-being. In a world full of noisy health trends, we bring you clarity. We reveal the science-backed strategies that truly work in a sea of fads. We explore the physical strength, emotional resilience, and mental mastery. These are the keys to an enriched life. Join us for inspiring interviews with champions who've conquered life's health challenges. Are you ready to unlock your potential to live with vitality and purpose? Then join the Health Revolution. I'm your host, Adriana Morrison, health and fitness expert, speaker, and a mom who understands. Let's embark on this transformative quest. Together, we're about to change the game starting now. The information provided in this show is intended for educational and entertainment purposes only. Viewers should use their own discretion and consult with a healthcare professional for personalized guidance and recommendations. Welcome, everybody. You are watching the Health Revolution. I'm your host, Adriana Morrison, and we are delighted that you are joining us today. No matter which way you're tuning into us, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button because we want to stay connected to you. At the bottom of your screen, there's a tab for show episode notes. Make sure that you have access to that. There's a lot of information about today's episode that you're going to want to refer to. And today we are talking about the science of wellness, all the tools that are out there, the advancements of really embracing vitality and turning things around if our health is not where it's at. We're talking epigenetics. We're talking all the different tools that can really elevate our health to new levels. And what is all of that? And what does that mean? We're going to talk about that today. My guest is someone who is extremely versed in this area. She's going to share the receipts and talk about those tools. First, take a look at this. Meet Valentina Bain, a pioneering leader in precision health with over 2 decades of experience in transforming lives. After overcoming her own battles with chronic health and hormone issues, Valentina dedicated herself to uncovering the root causes of imbalances through epigenetics, integrative therapies, and the mind-body connection. She specializes in guiding women to balance hormones, increase energy, and reclaim their health by fusing ancient wisdom with breakthrough science. Today, we will learn just how this works and how Valentina empowers others to live fully and embrace vibrant health. Valentina Bain, welcome to the show. How are you?
Oh, thank you so much. I'm wonderful. How are you today?
I'm doing fantastic. Getting right into it. Why does this matter? Precision health and the type of wellness we need to seek, and what is it that we don't know about the tools that we have access to?
Sure. Well, I love that. And I would say, we look at this sea of information that we're fed every day. The health and wellness industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry, and there are a lot of answers and solutions that are kind of a one-size-fits-all approach. And I'm here to tell you, and you've probably experienced yourself, that they don't actually necessarily fit all the same. So that's where this work really comes in beautifully, understanding how your unique DNA plays a part in how these different modalities and these different approaches can work or not work for you.
Now, is this a new terminology in terms of looking at the study of DNA epigenetics? Can you break down what it is that epigenetics embraces, and what are we learning from it these days? When did all this start?
Well, epigenetics has been around, I would say, for several decades already. However, there's more and more science coming out by the day. There are so many studies out now. PubMed is a great resource if you're like me and you like to read studies on the weekend. I don't know how many of you like to do that, but there are so many wonderful studies out there that can help us understand exactly how our genetics are impacted by our environment. And our environment being defined as anything that we eat, take in or around our body, as well as things that we experience in our environment, such as stress. So the way that these things are going to turn on or off our genetic expression is what the study of epigenetics is. And that really gives us a powerful position so that we can understand what we can do to help our genes work for us.
So, what are some things that we've discovered in these last few decades that maybe the general population doesn't realize holds the key for our health? What are some things that we connected DNA to that we didn't know beforehand?
Well, about 85% of disease, of all disease, is preventable. So that's a pretty huge statistic to tell us that, a lot of science in the past, decades ago, would say that if your mom has a certain issue health wise, your chances are going to be very high. But now we are questioning how much of that is going to be our environment that's triggering that and how much of that is in our power. So that's where all of this comes into play. Does that make sense?
It absolutely does. Can you explain to the viewer about what is DNA? Most people know about it, but just in case, what is DNA and why does it matter?
Well, the DNA is the fundamental behavior of our cells and how our environment is going to impact them. So it's the makeup of our cells. So it's our makeup on the most basic level. And our DNA is something that we're born with. So you get your genes from your parents. They are, inherited the makeup of our genes. And that's where the generational component does come into play. And then whether or not these genes and how they express themselves is more of a turning on or turning off. But your genes don't ever, people always ask me, do your genes change as you go? So it's really the cards you're dealt from the time that you're born. So we say the genes are the cards you're dealt, and then the lifestyle is how you can play into how those are expressing themselves.
Now, the evolvement of DNA, especially as a family grows through time, how gradual or how fast or slow are certain health change or health conditions change through generations? Can we have a completely different health condition for someone who is further in the family tree, or is it still something that there's no radical change that could evolve?
So, one of my favorite studies that I read, and maybe you've heard about it, is on mice. And it was done, it was a scent that was piped through for the mice to smell while they were being shocked, their little paws, which is really sad. And I love animals so much. So, we don't like to hurt them. However, what we did learn from this particular experiment is that not only did the next generation of mice, when they smelled that same smell, panic, but for 7 more generations, they reacted. They were stirred inside. So even emotionally, if there's something that happened multiple generations back, we are going to have a response within our body on not just a physical level, but an emotional level. And so it's really fascinating how those experiences and our reactions to certain things are just within, you think about birds as an example, they are kind of born, it's the nature versus nurture, right? Those laws. So they're born kind of knowing so many things. We have that too, and that's how we survive. So that's within us. But then the question is, how can we explore some of that is within us that's actually holding us back? And I love to speak about that, especially when it comes to people in the workplace or how we handle our emotions within our family, because these are things that we don't understand why we're triggered, but they can bring a lot of information, both on the emotional front, also on the physical, like when we're looking at disease and propensities around physical conditions that can trigger.
So it seems like the involvement has always been there. Is it much more radical involvement in these last couple generations, just because of where we are in society and just the different environmental exposures, the types of conditions that we're in, and that maybe there's certain situations that are more critical than others health wise?
I would say that we have a lot more toxins and stress, which toxins are stress to the body, right? There's a lot more for us to deal with. Life is happening really fast. We have a ton of information coming at us. We have collective stress and trauma that we did not have to navigate decades ago, because now the beauty of that connection is that we can see what's happening on the other side of the world. The kind of curse of that connection is knowing what's happening on the other side of the world. So I can sit here feeling horrified and stressed when something's happening to someone else, but it could feel like it's happening for me because I'm seeing it. And the body doesn't necessarily know if it's something you're seeing or something that's happening in your life. That's why it's so important that we're mindful what information we take in and what we surround ourselves with, because that can be just the thing that throws us over the edge with our stress levels. So it does all really add up, the toxins and the stress that's happening on a world level and within your own life.
When did you get so fascinated with DNA and how our life is impacted by the potential of what we're learning from it?
It was definitely an organic evolution of following my interest. So I was born with a lot of chronic health issues. My early years were filled with memories of pain. I was malnourished because I just couldn't digest anything, couldn't keep anything down, and they couldn't figure out what was wrong. So I spent so many years going to doctors and having tests and not getting answers, just getting more diagnoses. And I'm sitting here wondering, as I got into my teenage years, are these things connected? Could they be related? What's going on? Well, little did I know how I was living, how I was eating, but also my genetic makeup was causing a lot of these different problems for me. And it was when I realized that what you eat, which sounds now, it's kind of common knowledge, but back then, over 25 years ago, it was really not common knowledge that what we ate and what we were surrounded by was impacting our health so strongly. And so it was at the point, actually had my first job, and I was in a gym and I was watching people walk in with health problems and weight that they were trying to lose and walk out, and they were transforming on the inside and the outside. And that is when it really clicked for me, like, oh, this is really powerful. And so I started changing my diet and I got a lot of results. I started changing how I was living my life. I got into body work and learning how the body holds emotions and energy work, and really just fascinated. I say I went down a rabbit hole and I literally never came out. But what happened was, I would say about 5 years ago, I started having other problems with, first of all, my hormones changing. We can all relate to that if we're in that 35 plus range. And I also went through some trauma around divorce and also just family dynamics and things that came up for me. And when I did, other health problems surfaced. So I've had a lot of health journeys along the way. And I thought, okay, if the things that I'm eating impacted and my, things that I'm surrounding myself, my energy and my body work and my mindset and all of this, I knew all of these things, there was something missing for me. And so it wasn't until I learned about how I could dive deep into understanding how to eat, how to sleep, how to work out, how to help my blood sugar stabilize, all of these things. It just took everything I knew to such a profound next level of knowing exactly what to do for my health. And it really took me to the next level at a time when I think it was a pivotal crossroad for me, because I was going to really start having, and I've been dealing with some big hormonal changes within. And I was able to navigate that to now really feeling not only good, but better than I ever have. So I feel like I was able to really turn that situation around for myself. And it got me into a whole new place in my career of having such a passion, because there's a huge gap there, I believe, in care for women in that 35 plus range of really needing to know how to take care of themselves when their bodies are changing out from under them.
And so I'm curious, Are there just copies of DNA out there that are much more resilient than others? And say if a person, say if a person gets the short end of the stick, and that they're just much more susceptible to conditions or chronic disease. How much, and obviously this is just hypothetical, but how much of an impact can learning more about DNA have on that condition to then address symptoms that could be in a much more serious situation?
Yeah, so the testing that I offer is not diagnostic. So I tell people don't be afraid that you're going to get some kind of bad news. The fact that you're already looking for solutions means that there's an opportunity for optimizing something. And so having this information empowers you. And yes, it does in a way. The first time I ever looked at my genetic chart, I was like, wow, okay, I didn't know those were my weak points, or I didn't know I had a risk for, higher propensity for this or that, or a risk for this or that. But after the initial digestion of that, I was able to put together, even for myself, a really strong plan so that I can create a strong support so that those areas that are weaker for me and for my clients could be supported before they even become a problem. And if they already are a problem, then we can support other areas and get the best solutions and, opportunity to turn things around. So it's very empowering.
So let's go back a little bit. A genetic chart. Can you explain a little bit about that and the purpose of that? So I'm assuming that it's going to tell more about a person's situation.
Yes, so I do a comprehensive DNA analysis. There are over 500 genes, 120,000 SNPs, it's a lot, and a 70-page report that you walk away with, as well as me explaining what all that means, which is really nice, and a specific blueprint on your specific concerns and how to work through whatever it is that you're wanting to work through. So that information is a lot, but the great thing is it's a one-time test that allows you to walk away with so much knowledge. I would say more knowledge than any other test that you could get. In fact, it is the most comprehensive test on the market, and it's highly secure as well, just so that people can. That was one of my bigger concerns in the DNA world. So
what are the top so can you give an example of different health conditions, some of the more serious health conditions that learning about DNA can shed more light, even if a person is aware that they're struggling in one area or the other, whether it's, heart disease or diabetes? What kinds of conditions come up or that you consider to be a much more serious situation that DNA can share more about?
sure. I think that some of the really empowering bits of information can be how do we eat, which can lead to chronic inflammation in the body if we are eating, which is one of the biggest reasons that we get disease in the first place is chronic inflammation, right? That's the can be the trigger. So if we go upstream, we're dealing with what are we taking into our body that's irritating us. So the GAD1 gene can tell us if you can break down gluten and glutamate products. So that could be, is this something that's going to actually be okay for me, or is it actually going to cause neuropathway weakness? So we're going to have a higher likelihood of having kind of mental health problems coming from eating gluten, as well as digestive issues. So a higher likelihood of problems with the gut specifically, but also malnourishment if we have gut lining issues, which like over 80% of Americans tend to have. So we're not absorbing, things. And that's why we have so many food sensitivities. It's not necessarily that you can't break down those foods. It's that the gut is just not thriving at all. So everything is irritating. So that's a big one. Another one, the detox pathway gene, MTFHR. That's one that gets a lot of attention out there. And there are some companies that just do the MTFHR gene, but those actually do apply in other areas of your gene chart. So it's nice to get a whole picture of how it applies in over 50 categories, how all the pieces fit together. So that would really impact how your body is able to carry out toxins. So are you able to break down all the toxins? We here in America have more almost probably than any other country coming at us. So yes, we can minimize them, but also what can we do to support our body and how to actually break down the toxins and get them out? And that's a huge one if we know that we need support there in prioritizing that in our daily routines. Are we sweating at least 3 times a week? So you can break down to simple little to-do steps. And a few other ones would be sleep. I've already talked about gut health, but also hormone receptors, because hormones receptors are pretty much in every organ in your body. So if your hormone receptors are not doing their job, how can we support them? So that's a big one for aging for women.
Absolutely. We've got more to cover. First, we're going to take a commercial break. Stay right there. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back after this. Hi, I'm Adriana, and welcome back to Fit Bites. Today, let's talk about the importance of good skincare routine, especially as we age. Now, our skin is the largest organ in our bodies, and it needs consistent care to stay healthy and glowing. Start with a gentle cleanser to remove dirt, oil, and makeup without stripping your skin of its natural moisture. Now, look for products that suit your skin type, whether it's dry, oily, or combination skin. Next, apply a good moisturizer. Hydrating your skin helps to maintain its elasticity and prevent dryness. Choose a moisturizer with ingredients like hyaluronic acid or ceramides to lock in that moisture. Sun protection is crucial. Every morning, apply a broad spectrum sunscreen with at least SPF 30, even on cloudy days. Sun exposure is the leading cause of premature aging, so don't skip on this step. At night, consider using a serum with antioxidants like vitamin C to protect against environmental damage and boost collagen production. Retinol is another great option for reducing fine lines and improving skin texture. Lastly, stay hydrated by drinking plenty of water and maintain a balanced diet rich in fruits, vegetables, and healthy fats. What you put into your body shows on your skin. Remember, consistency is key. With a little daily effort, you can keep your skin looking and feeling its best. Stay tuned for more Fit Bites with Adriana. Welcome back to the Health Revolution. Welcome back, everybody. Today's topic, we're talking about the science of wellness and all the things that apply with understanding our DNA and really using the tools to amplify a greater vitality in our health. Our guest today, Valentina Bain, she's an epigenetics coach and a somatic expert. And before the break, we were talking about hormonal receptors and imbalance and hormonal imbalance that is impacted by just where we are with our health and understanding the connection with getting to know about our DNA so that we can have that blueprint to go forward. Valentina, I'm curious, how important is it to, when we're trying to understand about how our body's responding, we're getting older, we've got hormones happening, obviously for women over the age of 35, 40, perimenopause, menopause, so hormonal changes are going on. The human body, is it just every human body is going to go through substantial hormonal changes? What does that look like? What are we understanding how we are aging?
Yes. Well, About 52% of us will go through menopause at some point. So it is very important to understand what menopause is, what the signs and symptoms look like. And that's difficult when the health system and the tests that are available are not very clear in what perimenopause is and what that looks like and how to support ourselves. There's a very long list of what that change looks like in the body, and it's different for every person. So knowing how to navigate that with tools that are specifically built for each person's symptoms and DNA is really getting you like 100 million steps ahead of what most women are able to do for themselves. And it's really important because it does signify if you're going to have a great next part of your life or if you're going to struggle. And that is going to lead to potentially problems or having thriving, healthy, able to do everything that you want to do.
What about the case of when someone is seemingly healthy and then just over time they've got a condition that maybe is a little more hidden, and whether it is something that has to do with cardiovascular disease or the fact that that there's something brewing in the body that is has greater consequences. Is there can DNA shed light into what could be a warning sign of what's to come in the future? Maybe somebody is super healthy when they're younger, and then when they're older, there's not those emerging signs that would maybe be a tell-all.
Yes, for sure. We can definitely see in your DNA if you have a higher or lower propensity for certain diseases, certain health conditions, and we can take action before they even come to be a problem, hopefully. And I highly recommend always testing. So there's great, it's great to have your DNA, but if you have concerns, obviously going to a doctor and getting appropriate testing is critical and important. But what we can see in blood labs is a right now snapshot, which is great. What we can see in our DNA is our propensity and our full life picture. So we're really able to kind of zoom in and zoom back out on how to do a holistic approach for providing support. And it's not just DNA testing that I offer. I also offer HTMA, which is hair tissue mineral analysis, which is gaining more popularity. But what it is basically a biopsy of your hair, which is about a 3-month snapshot of what's happening with your minerals. That gives us the mineral ratios, gives us a lot of information about how your body's processing those, chemical, every system in your body is going to be working off of those chemical reactions that are happening from the minerals in the body. So if you don't have certain minerals, or if you have an overabundance of something, or toxins or metals that show up in your hair, then we can also look at addressing that. And then I also offer hormone testing at home, where you urinate on a little stick every morning and you scan it, and you can see exactly what's happening with your hormones. So it's pretty profound information. But all of that together gives you the ability to make a really solid plan on helping you take your health to the next level. And that's not just going to impact you right now, but it will impact your whole entire life. It impacts how every system works. So that's how you're performing at work as well, how you're showing up for your family. And also, obviously, are you feeling like you're thriving, or are you having trouble sleeping at night? So it all really adds up and comes back to the zooming in and the zooming out and coming up with a specific plan for each person.
How much does stress impact DNA? So if we're under chronic stress, which we are in society, and oftentimes we're just not very good at managing stress, especially these last 4 years. It's been a challenge just globally. How much of an impact does that have on our DNA?
A very, very large impact. And I love talking about how stress impacts the body. it's something that I spent about 15 years of my practice focusing on, was stress in and of itself. That's why I'm so passionate about emotional freedom technique. If you haven't heard of that, it's tapping on Chinese medicine meridian endpoints that will, the studies show that it can reduce cortisol in the body by over 50% with just one tapping session. So, I mean, think about that. If anything else could do that, like, why are we not announcing that from the rooftops, right? Meditation is a great one. So, breath work, moving the body. So, there's just so many, we are all kind of aware of some things we can do to reduce our stress. But when it comes to chronic stress, we may not even realize we have that stress that we're carrying around with us because it's kind of just what we're used to, right? It's our level, our threshold of stress is so high because we're just go, 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 such a fast lifestyle. So, yeah, how can we support that area? And I think that's a great point that you bring that up. And that cortisol can become a toxin in the body. So, when we're looking at reducing toxins, I remember there was a time in my life that I was so healthy, by textbook healthy. And I was eating a quote, perfect diet. Everything was so clean. Everything came from Whole Foods back in the day when it was like the best sourcing of food. All my products were the cleanest. And I was the most stressed and probably more toxin producing within my own system. I was breastfeeding. My kids were reacting. I couldn't figure out what the problem was. And so I really became passionate about helping people understand that if what you're doing is stressing you, it may not be benefiting you as much as you think. Let's back it up and let's start with stress. So it's really a great thing to look at. And how can we reduce it is the big question. And there's a lot of ways to do that. So that's where the somatic piece comes in, the mind body piece.
Can you talk a little bit about that? What is somatic therapy and what's the conversation like in societal times today regarding somatic therapy?
It's gaining popularity because we are understanding nowadays that our bodies are holding the story, right? So it's not just in our minds and it's not just, they're not separate. Our minds inability to process trauma, which big T and little t. And I always say, if you're a human, then you've experienced trauma, right? Because being a human in and of itself is a little bit of a traumatic experience at times. So we don't have to make it a scary thing, but more understanding how does our daily life impact us and things that we're not as kids. You don't really process what you've gone through. It's not until later in life that you start to reflect, probably, on how things impacted. I think it's a beautiful thing when you have the chance to have children and you kind of reflect back to, oh, when I was 5, this and that happened. And so there are some beautiful ways to go back and work on healing that. But the story does get held in our bodies, and how can we release that? I do some work called emotion code, and you can actually use muscle testing and emotional charts to go in and unlock what emotions are held in the body, not just from you, but also from past generations. It's really profound, and it's a great way to clear. So I do recommend, if someone's interested in diving into emotional freedom technique or emotion code, those are some great places to start and learning how the body does hold our story and how we can release it. And as I said, breath work and just being more aware of how you feel, and naming and giving space for those emotions. I love journaling. Journaling is also a great way to bring the mind and the body, because you're writing out how you feel together, and processing that, as well as any kind of movement.
So, somatic therapy encompasses the mind body connection.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. And what's been the conversations? What has conversations been like in the clinical space as you are? So I'm sure it's inevitable that you're having conversations or that you come across doctors, physicians, or maybe other specialists, other colleagues. What's it been like to talk about the spaces that you hold, epigenetics and then somatic therapy? What are those conversations like?
So they are more and more receptive. I have several doctors that I have partnered with that are sending me clients, and it's very exciting because they are understanding more and more that they can help people when they have that information, and people can also be more empowered to help themselves when they have that information. So it's a great partnership that is being born. I would say it's in its baby years as far as there are many doctors. I mean, doctors are very busy in their practices. So it's finding the right doctor that has the capacity to partner with someone like me that's kind of on the outer skirts of the medical field, doing things in a new science way, combining the ancient modalities with the new science that's open to that. But there are several doctors that I work with that are also using peptides, that are also using other body tech, like chiropractors are a great example. So they're in their field are also doing similar work, and it's a great partnership there. I would say people are getting curious, and that's very exciting. I mean, as I said before, there are so many studies coming out about not just how stress is impacting us, that's been happening for a while, but how generationally the stress gets passed down, how the mind and body are working together. Because in Western medicine, for many years, we treated things isolated, right? So you go to the doctor, you have a headache, well, they're just going to treat the headache symptoms, not necessarily ask, where is the headache coming from? And looking at the whole and asking you, hey, are you, and I tell people all the time, if your doctor is not asking you questions, there are doctors that will spend more time and ask more questions and help you get more resources. And those are the kind of doctors that I'm excited to work with, ones that are, passionate and learning themselves. So it's really an exciting time for epigenetics and somatics both. I don't personally know anybody that's combining them. I think it's a unique combination because it's my background that I've just kind of brought together. But I think it's wonderful because, as I said, it gives me tools to pass on to my clients to seamlessly help them get to the bottom of the stress piece.
What is your biggest concern for women? When women come to see you, when you've done your studies and you see trends with women, what are some of your professional concerns that you have on behalf of women?
I think it's just an unawareness of what's happening in the body when the changes are happening, the hormonal changes, and how that's impacting us. I think we are so good as women at putting ourselves on the back burner because everything else is happening quickly around us, especially if you're a mom and especially if you're working. It's just easy to say, I'll deal with that later. But I think that's the trick, is putting yourself important up on the importance list, because just as they say, the flight attendant says, like, put the mask on first. Like, we cannot show up our best if we're not looking after ourselves. And I think when our hormones are changing, it requires another level of looking after ourselves. It's like we're given a whole new body. It's a whole new landscape when our hormones are changing, because it's like every day can be different month to month. And that's part of it, is not knowing how to navigate that. So that's why I'm bringing all these tools to the table and saying, okay, there are a lot of ways here that you can support yourself, and here's where to start. Because a lot of times it's just so overwhelming to not know where to start that it goes on the end of the list, just for the simple fact of that's overwhelming. I don't really have time for it, so I'm just going to deal with it later. And the reality is, it's not just sleep or how you're feeling emotionally. It is impacting your heart. It is impacting your bones. It is impacting your risk of Alzheimer's. Like, there are a lot of studies that are showing that, and not to scare people, but putting yourself on the map now is really important, because it can prolong your life and your quality of life in such a huge way. So I think that's my biggest, I wouldn't say concern, but it's really, especially because I'm in that bracket myself. I have 4 kids, and it is really hard to put myself on the map. So I really want to advocate for women. There's a lot of great information, but if it's just starting with a book, I love Dr. Mary Claire Haver's new book, The New Menopause. It's got some great resources in there for women, just some starting points. And obviously, I'm here to have great conversations as well. But I would just say, put yourself on the map. Go ahead and put yourself at the top of the list, because right now it honestly matters. If you're in that bracket like I am, it matters more than it ever will. This is the prime time to look after yourself, and it will pay off.
Absolutely. We're going to take a commercial break. Stay right there. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back after this. Thank you so much for watching The Health Revolution. Our show is growing, and it's all thanks to viewers like you. No matter how you found us, please hit the subscribe button so we can stay connected and continue to deliver amazing content to you.
Introducing Launchpad, the perfect partner to help you launch your dream project to the world. We know that time is of the essence, and we're here to help you make the most of it. With Launchpad, you'll get access to the most advanced digital tools and strategies to take your idea from a mere concept to a fully fledged success. Whether you're an aspiring entrepreneur or a seasoned pro, we have everything you need to make your mark in the world. Launchpad, your ultimate launch partner.
We can take our own health into our own hands. Okay, so we'll kind of expand on that. So I take a lot of vitamins every day. Long before I started this business, my wife has had me taking my vitamin C, my B complexes, amino acids every single solitary day, and I still do, even though I still do IVs as well. But when you take vitamins orally, you get 15 to 20% of them. Some people get less because they have autoimmune issues. Some people have a lot of inflammation issues, whatever the case may be, so they don't get the absorption that they need to be getting. So they don't get their immune system built up. Doing the mobile IVs, I'm able to take your immune system, I'm able to naturally boost it.
Welcome back to the Health Revolution. Our guest today, Valentina Bain, she's an epigenetics coach and somatic expert, and we're talking about the science of wellness. And before the break, I remember just thinking some of the concerns that might come up for you, just as you've seen trends with women, just with anyone in general. But obviously, some things that may come up for you as you notice patterns. And I'm curious to get your take on how you help women increase their energy, their level of vitality. We talked about the hormonal balance, but what are your ways that you address that when women come to you and they say, you know what, I'm not quite sure what's going on. I guess I need to know a little bit more about me. I don't know where to start. What are some of your favorite ways to address that? How do you help women with energy levels?
Sure. Yeah, I think the key is starting at the foundation because, as I said before, it can just be so overwhelming. So I preach this a lot. It's like, okay, start with the basics. Are you drinking enough water? Are you eating foods that are really nourishing your body? Are you sleeping enough? Are you getting out in the sunshine and moving your body and sweating every day or almost every day? And that's a really great place to start. But then if we take it to the next level, a lot of women, especially with hormone health, we're looking at, like to talk about poop. Are you moving bowel movements every day? So that is a great way to indicate how you're doing with hormones. And as I said before, about 80% of Americans have gut lining issues. So healing the gut, getting the gut some support, making sure that you're properly moving in that area is also going to be critical for hormones, for also moving toxins out of the body. So those are some great fundamental pieces. The next one would be blood sugar. How's that going? And so I recommend checking in. Are you getting enough protein? Are you getting adequate protein and fats and fiber to make sure that your body can handle the sugars in your diet, even the natural ones, because that all plays a part. And then we start looking at things like our liver function, the drainage happening there, and our nervous system. All of those layers are really foundational, but they play a huge role in, how your health is doing and how all the systems in your body are working. And I like to bring in the mineral support because mineral balancing is one of the best ways to allow your body to very gently detox and make sure you have everything you need as well. Because we know our soil it doesn't have all the minerals that it once had. So even if we're eating a great diet, we may still need some support there. And almost always people do. And so those are some places that I would start. So there's a lot there, but take it to the basics.
And so the way that you work with clients or those who come to you and they see your title, like you're an epigenetics coach, I think you can help me connect the dots. What what are your first few steps that you do when you onboard someone to work with you?
So I have them fill out quite extensive paperwork because I really want to understand how everything is right now. And that allows me to figure out how things are going when I'm looking at how things are built within the body. So it gives me a lot of information. And that way, when we're looking at the report and we're on our call, diving deep into that, I'm able to tailor their information to providing the support that they're going to need right then and there. And then we can also always go back and tailor it to other things in the future if other things come up. That's the great thing about it being a one-time test. So that's kind of where we start, is getting the information, both on my end and on their end, and then coming together, coming up with a plan. And then it depends how much support they're looking for. If it's a major hormonal imbalance issue, I'm going to say 90 days or so to 6 months is a critical point to providing some support and making some changes and seeing how those things are going. And so I do have a 9-month process that I go through with someone who's got gut health issues, chronic health issues, or hormonal support is needed. But if somebody really just wants to optimize their health, then we can take it to just doing the test. And I have both options. So it just depends on how much support they're looking for. With the 9-month program, you get a lot of support, mineral testing, hormone testing, and all that I've mentioned as well.
And you and I talked before today about your blueprint, and how the DNA blueprint. And so I want to bring up the slide. And can you talk a little bit about what this is and what you offer for that?
Yes. So the ultimate DNA blueprint is the ultimate way to navigate any kind of health concern with your DNA, as well as your minerals, as well as your hormones. And it allows me to also provide a lot of support over a 9-month period with somatic resources. And so you just get the ultimate package of having not only all that information, but getting a plan in place so that it's very tailored to each individual. So whether you're looking to improve sleep or your productivity, if you're looking to gain relief from chronic health symptoms going on, no matter which part of the body they're going on in, or releasing stored emotions, and all of those things are really going to play a part in getting to the root of those imbalances and helping you get the support and the healing that you're looking for. So that's really what that's all about. It's a culmination of my 20 years of being in this space and helping give them every tool that I have, just sharing that. And I just love it so much because it allows people to get so much of the healing that they're looking for that the one size fits all approaches are not allowing them to get.
So obviously this is a customized approach, and then we have the QR code for, so they can grab that, and that'll take them to your site, and that would allow them to take the next steps to embrace this. And then obviously the discount, the little bit of discount that's with that. And, and yes. And now is this are you working within, are you working globally? Are you working just in North America, or what does that look like?
I do have clients even in Europe as of now. So yes, I'm based in Nashville, Tennessee, but I do see clients all over the world, and I'm able to do everything virtually. So it's great that we have this technology that we can put to use. And yeah, we're able to accomplish all of it virtually, which is fantastic.
And I love how you have, that's part of the component is over 500 genes that are tested. And so that's an extensive amount. Obviously that's going to say more than say that person realizes that they're going to get to know themselves more than they ever did before.
There are so many panels out there that are like 5 genes or 20 genes, and so having 500 is just it's a different ballpark. You're just able to get the whole picture, and we often can see when we're looking at the report that in one area, one gene might suggest one, protocol or suggest support in one way. But then if you look at it over in another category, it's doing something kind of different with how it's combining with the other genes and how it's all the whole picture. So it's really cool to see that come together. It's just fascinating. I literally love what I do so much, and I love to get to teach people, and getting to teach them on their own selves is like just the best.
Absolutely. We're going to take a quick break. Stay put. We're coming back. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back after this. Welcome back to the Health Revolution. Welcome back, everybody. We've been spending quality time with our guest today, Valentina Bain. She is an epigenetic coach and somatic expert. And Valentina, where can we find you on social media? Talk to us about your website and all the characteristics that that viewers can get upon getting on your website.
Yes, I love this conversation. I am so excited to continue it with each of you. If you would like to visit my website, you will find that you can book time with me. And I'm actually offering you guys a Hormonal Health blueprint as a gift if you want to book a session just to learn more about how this can help you. So it's valentinabain.com.
And yes, and for the testing, obviously they can use the code, the Health Revolution, to get a $100 coupon for the discount.
Yes, make sure you use the code, the Health Revolution, to get $100 off. If you want to go ahead and purchase, we're here for it. We're ready to start. And so we can get you going right away.
And where else on social media, where can we find you?
So I am on Instagram at valentina.bain, and that's BAIN. And I'm also over on LinkedIn. So it's also Valentina Bain there as well. I look forward to connecting.
If there's one thing, obviously we're running out of time, but if there's one thing that you would want the viewer to understand about their health and DNA and just bridging the gap, what would it be?
I think just to feel empowered. We are not victims of our circumstances or of our genes. So I just want everyone to understand that having that knowledge truly is power, and that you can take your health into your own hands at the most powerful level because the key is in your genes. So I just love this conversation. Thank you.
I'm so glad that we had the chance to talk today. I know we're out of time. Valentina Bain, she epigenetics coach, somatic expert. Thank you so much for spending time with us today.
Thank you so much.
And for our viewers, of course, you can find us on the web. Our website is thehealthrevolutiontv.com. You can subscribe to our newsletter. You can also email us with any show episode ideas you'd love for us to cover. Upper left-hand corner of your screen is our QR code. If that's easier for you to grab, certainly do so. And then, of course, every single week on Tuesdays and Thursdays, you can find us right here on the Achieve TV network channel on E360 TV, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. That is all the time that we have. Until next time, take care of yourselves. We will see you soon.